CRWS, Countering Racism, White Supremacy Book Club. Like, share, subscribe, and comment below.
Real quick, the surname Hyde or Hyde etymology. Hyde is a surname derived from a unit of measurement. Hyde with an I, and it may also refer to some politicians as well. But yeah, it's got so a hide is an English unit of measurement intended to represent the amount of land sufficient to support a household. It's also a measurement of value and tax assessment. I'm looking too deep into it, I admit.
No, no, ma'am, at all. And if I remember correctly, before those land deeds, liens, and tax property law came into effect, they would rate their monetary by how many pelts of animals or hides you had. Within your French over here, how they came through Canada, they got so many hides. The whole idea of like pelts. The movie, what is that called? It's not. Oh, The Revenant. The Revenant. All trappers, French trappers. All that has to do with hides and the dollar amount of hides. And then if
Yeah.
we look, I'm sorry.
Yep. Agreeing.
And then yeah, this I'm sorry to get so excited about this movie and just in the context of white supremacy, but me and all right, so what started this for me was Monsoon and I want to say Miss Salt were in a space, and it was something on Twitter, and we were talking about, and I was like, it had to do was like after like Peyton Gendron, um, after, and I'm like, oh, I know what it was. It had to do with the book club in Columbine, and how it talked about how Dylan and Eric, they would make mods on games to make, and me and O5 had seen this on this game called Ready or Not. There are certain mods on the game where individual people have made individual boards, and one of them is called School Shooter, and a person in the store that has hostages. So, as we're going through the book club and everything, I'm like, just like the part in the movie, it's like they've seen these films, like the usage of IG and Twitter to just relive these peculiar refinement. Will Graham reminds me the of the investigative need to study racism and solve the problem of this serial killer.
You dropped out for a hot second, like you were saying that they're recreating the serial killer. It was something you said in between that and the Columbine people with games.
I'm sorry. Man, I don't know what happened. That's weird. I was saying that when like Peyton Gendron in Buffalo, and then in the book club learning about how they would mod these games out, I'm like, well, could it be in this day and age that they're able to make okay, so Columbine, right? Okay, so anybody can find, because it says that they were really proficient on the internet. You could find a blueprint of Columbine School. I noticed how it said that Columbine was one of the first schools that had like a open something, like an open canopy. And it made me think about, if this was more of a bombing situation than a shooting, I suspect they plan to drop that whole canopy on the rest of the people and pancake them. If you look at Columbine, it has this big glass front. Can I still be heard?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and so as I'm thinking about it in terms of video games, they always say, oh, video games don't influence us and movies don't either. Yeah, right. So I was thinking, what if they're making these simulations through video games and practicing how they're going to do it before they even do it, like military simulations? And I thought about this movie, like they've seen these films and they're recreating it. Even the way that I said that, oh, he honored Lecter and he talked to him through this newspaper article called The Tattler. Well, I look at things like Twitter, like Tattler, and how these white supremacists can talk to each other and convene and share ideas on how to terrorize people.
Makes sense to me. I mean, ugh, ugh. Um, that's disturbing. They wanted to pancake people. I'm still catching up on that book club. I think in general, the games are mock-ups of, you know, what they can do, and then some people dedicate further, deeper, stronger to the system, and then specify their plans, and yeah, use these simulations that's been made available to do it for sure. And then to complement that process, you have movies like this being recreated, or being created and then recreated, because I didn't realize Red Dragon was the recreation of this movie. I think I either seen Red Dragon or I saw another one. It was part of that whole, I guess you could call it like epic or whatever of Hannibal Lecter or whatever. But they have to make sure that every generation has a serial killer psychopath to look up to and mimic, from real life or from their imagination. Some people are going to gravitate, I'm guessing, toward fantasy characters, and some people are going to gravitate toward real life, because I'm guessing then they use logic and say, hey, if someone did this in real life, then I can do it too, versus trying to do something that was based off of an act of fiction. Um, but some of the stuff was a little bit. It was a little bit comical at the end, real quick. That whole entrance through the glass bull crap. I was like, what cop was gonna? I guess. You want me to believe a cop gonna bust through some glass? I don't know. Maybe they will. I just thought that was hilarious. I'm sorry. I just had to say that was funny to me. He busts through the glass, and then immediately he gets handled. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he would have had that gun, that weapon, any faster or sooner than when he had it in the movie, that guy would have been dead. Eh, yeah, sorry. I just thought that was funny.
Detective Will Graham, in the very beginning, was in lighter blue colors. He was in shorts, blue shirt. Immediately when he got to the case, they show him in a blue suit. I mean, I'm sorry, in all black, even black tie. Um, the use of colors with the white and the black to denote who's the villain and who's not. Um, the scene you're saying in the end, that is the idea of the white anti-hero, the one who can delve into the mind of the killer, but still come out wearing white at the end. maybe little battle scars, yeah, the scene, the usage of white with Hannibal Lecter, um, how Will Graham sympathized with the killer. I think that feeds into how these little white terrorists are seen today. And the part where it showed how he hacked the phone. This is 86 before the internet. So, well, the internet that we know. So I think this leads, I wonder if any of the tactics that were used are in the anarchist handbook on how to tap a landline to get back to an operator and then lie, say that you need TTY. I think that was very useful if I was a person classified as white, race soldier.
Yeah, computer geeks, computer freaks, for sure. Uh, Not to get away from the movie, but my mom mentioned this white lady she knows. She has a son that she allowed to isolate himself in his room and be on the computer, and he probably knew how to do all that stuff back in the day, in the 90s when I met them. And fortunately, he didn't become a serial killer, but he did become a heavy drug addict. Um, so it's almost like with that mastery, there's the implication every most of the time for some type of, nihilism and insanity as a price, because it's never done for constructive reasons. Them tapping into the system, the creation of these telecommunication systems is to game something, to game someone or some situation for an abusive reason or whatever. And very spoiled people, I guess, is another thing I would say about these white people. Everybody involved, they want it their way. I'm not saying that, it's not just to stop a serial killer. It's just this battle of white man wills, is what I was able to see, who uh, outdo who.
Did you notice how when when the scene panned back to De- uh, Detective Graham's house, how it was just all stark white, almost hinting. Well, all right. So the part that they cut out at the very end, because there's two different cuts of this movie, and one implicates a little bit more, as in when Hannibal Lecter said, if you came to pick up the scent, you're wasting your time. Just smell yourself. As in, the real manhunter wasn't Lecter or um, Mr. Dollarhide. It was actually Will Graham, and he's actually the real psychopath who lives in a padded cell. Even though it looks like luxury, everyone in that house is under suspicion and or PTSD. There's the scene when you look with when he's at the beginning and he's talking to his son about the turtles, and you look when he's talking, but as the camera pans you see his wife on the balcony. So the whole time is implicating that they nobody trusts Will Graham because you went crazy. If it shows the white man's need to leave his he doesn't care about his children and or his family in his quest for I have to one up everything. Um he told Lecter what I want to see if you're smarter than this guy to try to coax him. It's a battle of who has, I guess, the best bullets. There was a foreshadowing of when he dropped the bullet on the floor and then he picked it back up. That was the last one he needed to shoot him in the head to stop him. Um, yeah, I have pages and pages of notes for this film. I'm sorry. I'm mute out.
Oh no, it's all good. Um, I did see the all white. I did, but dude, when you think about it too, it's a reflection of him too. He's technically all white as well. Pasty white, bald head, white hair as well. So a reflection of who's dominating, truly dominating the movie. It would be him and the guy in prison, who's in a white cell, white um prison clothes and stuff, which is unusual now that I think about it. And going back to the first movie, right? Even when you think about criminality, these non-white people are in non-white correctional uniforms. They're in bright orange, so you can spot them, right? But then you have him blending in to his surroundings in a jail, blending into himself with his skin and becoming invisible, you know. Um, just something to think about with that. It's almost like they want him to get away, or he could easily escape or something. He could be undetected. Uh,
He did
that's
in
the
the later
motif.
movies.
Yeah,
He did.
yeah.
Yeah, after he got away in Silence of the Lambs, remember? And then
Mhm,
came back as in Hannibal in
mhm,
Europe, chilling. Yeah.
mhm. Matter of fact, so okay, so I'm glad I made that connection. The whole thing. I'm be honest with you. I get tripped out and I don't go there. I'm surprised that I wanted to major in forensic psychology for a hot second. Um, I didn't, but cannibalism, man, that is a thing. That is a thing that I don't venture into much. This is cool. This kind of stuff is cool, but have you heard of there's a movie called Cannibal Holiday? Have you heard of that?
It's called Cannibal Holocaust. Yes, I've seen it.
Cannibal Holocaust. Oh, you watched
I've
that.
seen it.
Okay.
I've seen it, yeah. It's
Well,
you know,
salute, because I ain't going.
yeah.
Not doing it.
No.
Was it? It
It,
must. I think it was bad from what the little bit I saw.
it,
Was it as bad as I
I'm
thought?
scarred. No matter if it was real, what was on film, or whether it was actors, I'm scarred from it. But
Really?
I understand that, as Mr. Graham says it, sometimes you have to think like the killer to understand the killer.
Yeah.
And this one, I was, way more confused. Um, I used to smoke weed with this guy that owned a video store, and he had it. And I heard it was banned, and I was like, oh, I want to see it. This is probably like 12, 13 years ago.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, no, probably like 18 years ago. This is early. Yeah, bro. This is like, yeah, maybe 04, 05. This is a while ago. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, it shows non-white people as cannibals, and white
Non-white
victims.
people.
It shows
Okay.
non-white quote unquote jungle Amazonians, and white people went there shoot. One of the first examples of how they make movies, like Blair Witch, with through the video, through the video camera, first person shooter, is one of those kind of things. So like the first version of that. So the first version of that kind of programming, white victim goes into these non-white people who eat people, and oh, what they went through. It was
Mhm.
an interesting story. Like even as it was shot, like there was like real life things behind that. Very interesting.
Mm.
That entire movie, yeah. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, I would not suggest anybody watching that at all.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks. I won't. I definitely won't. But thank you. Um the
I've been
I,
brain trashed by movies. Like I'm a
eh,
I'm a product of 1974, so I lived. I was cognizant of all the 80s cartoons, and I was programmed by the Jehovah's Witnesses. So
really.
yeah,
Mm.
and then all my father's side is from Louisiana.
Yeah. You're
So
telling me.
Yeah.
Boy, them Jehovah's Witnesses, they I tell you what, they will definitely confuse non-white people because
It's oh my
mhm.
God. I'm sorry. I'm
No, go ahead.
no, I'm just like talking out loud. I'm you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just seeing stuff, hearing about stuff, and just sounds like I don't want to just come out and say cult because people throw that out a lot about a lot of stuff. But it's just a particular design they have for to condition people that is extremely unique, and to say it's so it has these humble this humble facade, this wholesome facade, and most of the people that I know, or I shouldn't say most, like I know a lot, I have seen the opposite instances personally, and then just in living, like, say for instance, an extreme case would be the Jacksons, right? They're Jehovah's Witnesses, and we see the outcomes of what happened to those people, particularly like Michael Jackson and Latoya, but they grew up Jehovah's Witness, right? Like, really now? And I'm not saying they were doing anything wrong per se on purpose, but the situations they ended up in, to say that they started off Jehovah's Witnesses, like, maybe it messed y'all up in a way. And then personally, I know someone as Jehovah's Witness, and there was a lot of sexual impropriety and drug use that he eventually got into after being Jehovah's Witness his entire life. And it's like, what happened? Like, it didn't work, or did it work too well? I don't understand. You get what I'm saying? Kind of.
It's so destructive. My older cousin, from Louisiana, last name is Saint Cyr. His father's side of the family. He described it to me one way after I talked to him. This is after COVID, maybe like 2020 when we started like talking again. I got his number back, Facebook, because I got up on Facebook for years. Um, but I reached out to him, and the way he explained it, I was like, because how I thought about it, I was like, what they do is like they waste generations of people. So they'll tell you, oh yeah, the year they've had three different times they said that the end was coming and it didn't happen. Like my attempted mother went to college. That was seen as a sin, and you cannot be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. And then what they do is like you look now, like I want to say as New Zealand, like they got banned from New Zealand because of their practice of shunning. So let's say, your family's Jehovah's Witness, and then you say, well, this is silly, or, anything, something happens. Like your family in the house is supposed to ignore you. So it drives people to suicide, like all. So what it basically does is it makes you antisocial. So you can't deal with people in social um, situations because everything is ruled by the devil outside of Jehovah's Witnesses. Like they don't even really go off the Bible. It's all like from the Tract Society in New Jersey. Like it's like a super cult. Like they have black people out there building churches within 3 days. I've been on the job site, but yet they have one of the highest rates of pedophilia. Um, they have a law with all of the internal laws of wherever they are that if rape or anything happens, they have a clause where the standing police cannot get involved and they handle it internally off the type of clause that they have with their whatever church law. Like I think that they're one of the biggest traffickers of human trafficking and pedophilia on the planet as a so-called religious institution because it comes from Masons. James Rutherford is from the 1890s. I've seen video of him with this apron cloth on doing supposed tricks on the stage, and all of a sudden he talks about God is coming back and Yeah, it's the biggest cult on the planet, I would say. Bigger than the Black Hebrew Israelites, BGQ.
Okay, as big as the Vatican and the Archdiocese? Bigger than that?
I would say bigger because they tend to hone in after a certain time on non-white people. Because like you can look at like even to the 40s, it was like, get you niggers out of here. And all of a sudden at a certain time, like almost like between the 50s, I even saw this. I saw I saw that the Jehovah's Witnesses were in town for the Tulsa riots, and the progenitor of the Jehovah's Witnesses had procured some space for one of his conventions, but the day of the convention wasn't one of the days of the Tulsa riots, and he housed some black people that were in the riots in one of the Jehovah's Witnesses conventions back in the day.
Wow.
Like they've had their hands in a lot of stuff, just their entire structure. How like you're supposed to like, go out in the field service. So you might have like a 6-year-old girl going out with a grown man going door to door. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
And nobody can get in trouble for it.
Mm-mm.
They are known for the pedophilia worldwide, and nobody says nothing except um, we might complain about shunning in certain areas. Not saying that it's from the Catholic Church, but um, the new 2-hour movie that they made
Mm-hmm.
about their new push for who's going to be a Jehovah's Witness is based in Africa.
Mm-mm.
Yes, ma'am, it is. I'll send the link.
Mm.
I'll put it in the
Mm.
CRWS. Yes. Yes, it is.
You ever seen I was talking about the Wayans with '05 earlier, and there's this talent show, Miss Black Person USA, and Kim Wayans is doing this interpretive dance to a poem, and she goes, "Oh, Africa, a tear falls from my eye." Like it really does. That's what I thought. Like Africa, like y'all ain't caught on yet to this religion mess. Come on. Come on. This is an old
It's
dang
deep.
trick.
It's deep. It's see they hide, not they hide nothing. They just don't show us the information about like the long trek of like what is known as like slavery of black people. Like if you start like, even with just the recent Arabs, let's say of like 800, like black people have been enslaved by groups of people that were classified and are still classified as white, but they don't broadcast it over here that much until they get here as an immigrant. That's just my BGQ, what it shows through history. But yeah, the whole Arab thing is shown through that though.
You right. I was with I told you how that man tried to pull one over on me about being white. I knew he was white, but he tried to say he was trying to say he wasn't because his dad was born in Palestine or whatever. I'm like, okay, yep. Well, I'm still not confused because they're still allowed to be white. You know what
I
I'm
mean, we think
saying?
about I would think about the movie you just presented, Samara. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was at the plantation, and right when I clicked in, like the next 3 or 4 minutes was that white dude going through convulsions. I'm like, what am I looking at? But I saw that as a ritual to degrade the spiritual practices of the Congo. Um, how people cover like the priests, they'll cover themselves in like the Chanel powder. Like you see like people with like white markers on the face when they say that they're like an invocation or something like that. But like that has a practice. But him being a white man from the so-called Congo, I look at that as Dr. Wilson, how they have to cover themselves in darkness, like how they wear leather. So he's putting all this gray matter on his face, but yet ripping it like it's through blood. I thought about the Iceman Inheritance, that book, Yurugu, um, and Francis Dollarhide, and cannibalism, and how like they wear the skins of their victims. And I suspect that that's the whole science behind blackface. It's because they might just used to skin black people and wear them around the house.
I want to agree to that too. Huh. I used to go to the flea market in Mobile on the weekends and visit my family there, and sell. For some reason, this older black man wanted to be compensatory to me, and I was selling some of the stuff I made and selling some of his jewelry. So he was like, take it and sell it for whatever you want. Just give me the cost, and he told me what each thing cost. So he had this jewelry, and in the mix, he had a skull ring. I did not pay attention to it. I really didn't. Didn't see it until one day, white man comes, and he's got a son and a daughter that were in their mid-teens, and he sees the ring. He's like, "How much for the ring?" And I told him like, "Whatever." I said, "You want that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we love skulls." He's like, "We got skulls and bones all over the house." I said, he said, "My kids grew up with a full skeleton like in the house." I'm like, okay. And then I was confused, more confused. I just thought he was like one of those, just a Satanist, not so much what you're talking about, the cannibalistic element of it. Because to be a cannibal, to me, you don't have to always consume the person. It's the consumption part occurs in the transformation from life to death, and then like you said, the utility of flesh and the utility of bones thereafter. So going back to medical apartheid, whose bones were those? Most likely a black person. A real damn skeleton that his these white children grew up seeing. Um, it's far out. It's really far out. I don't. People get upset with me because I just can't. I don't want to deal with them people if I don't have to. I really don't. Like, and they're just like, well, they're not all the same. They're being oppressed too. I don't want to hear that. I don't. I just seen an example tonight of how unoppressed, these mofos are, and to hear your report about the the religious confusion that leads into the sexual confusion, obviously as well on the continent, and just there's no goodwill from these folks as a collective. It's not. There are some white people that want to be a little bit more compensatory or that want to produce justice a little bit more, but they will not give up being white. I haven't seen it. I have not seen that. And they're all capable because that stuff is genetic.
I would have to agree it is genetic, and I would have to go by the old law, some of the oldest law that says that that's why they incarnate. Like it was a word that was used in Samar discarnate, right? Remember
Yeah,
we're
the
talking about
guy the
discarnate?
guy made that second movie,
Yeah,
Incarnate. Yeah.
yeah. So that is how That's actually how the Yurugu or the Tamahu is explained. Is that, or white people, they're explained as discarnate spirits. So the only way they can incarnate as white beings, like I don't play the whole white the social construct at all. I say that your skin color, like the in Peru says, when it says
Mm-hmm.
that Ra made men to their character of their skins, and the white desert invader is white because that's his nature. That's what I believe, because that's what our ancient books say. Your books say one thing, that's cool. Our books say something else.
I
And
agree
that's
with
why they're
that.
white.
We deal with people, a lot of people non-white that believe they don't want to get deep into spirituality. They don't want to know origins. They don't want to know timelines in history to be able to say, okay, I believe in these principles, but I also understand historically and based on evidence that this is also, or this is primarily what this stuff I believe in means and does. So when people say it's a construct, okay, well, again, based on evidence, it's a little more than that, and to be able to identify with people that have gone out of their way to defy nature and defy our well-being at every turn just shows how much doubt in ourselves we have, and how much love we love them people. We love them like they're our, I was about to say like they're our children. And I heard a black man say in this video, he was in Britain somewhere. He was telling this white guy, he was like, I'm your father. But he was telling him that in the sense of, anthropologically, he's his father, which is correct. Like, I'm older than you. But we love these people. We behave and we pity them, and we give them passes like we would small children, like, oh, don't be mad, he don't understand, or it's not their fault, they, you got to explain it to them and all this other stuff, but yet they're making laws and doing all this crazy stuff and eating people and passing on diseases and all this other stuff. To say they're so ignorant or whatever is mind boggling. I really just, I can't. I'm turning into a, like Gus would say, a curmudgeon. I'm really beginning to turn into a curmudgeon. I never thought I'd
I
see
was
the
thinking
day.
about that word. I said that word today. I was walking past like a window of a store. I looked at myself, I was like, nobody should agree with me because I'm a curmudgeon. I don't like none of y'all. I was thinking that
I'm telling
today.
you, it's so hard because like seriously, I'm a female. Truly, I'm a female. Like in my mind, in my world, I want to wake up and the sun's shining and these big double rainbows in the sky and flowers dancing. I really would appreciate that. I'm not saying that happen in real life, but you get what I'm saying, like happiness and harmony, and you know. And I can't. That's can't happen. It can't happen. I can't look forward to the day that children ain't suffering and all this other stuff, and old people are, they older, but they still vibrant and they still got a little pep in their step, because it's just not the world we live in. And people just, it just is doing a lot to me. It just is doing a lot to me. With, oh, by the way, with what happened with my son, I don't know if I left that voice message with you. I forgot. So like what ended up happening was he got to the hospital because some white person in a kind of well-to-do area saw that he was not too alert or whatever, and then called 911, and then the police got him to the hospital without incident. And then from there, he got into a behavioral hospital and was being treated. And why am I mentioning that? But the reason why I'm mentioning that is this: in this situation, I advised the medical professionals that he doesn't have mental illness, like the clinical type. I'm like, this is a presentation of mental illness because it's actually a neurotoxicity that's occurring. And you need to treat it as such, because once this stuff is out his system, he's not going to be talking crazy. But they still diagnosed my son with something as though he has it on his own. I'm like, this is equivalent. This is malpractice. I really did forget why I was bringing that up. But oh, I know. It does something. It just takes a little bit more hope, a little bit more happiness, a little bit more optimism. And it's like I don't want to spread this to other people. It's like, okay, if I feel this way, I guess really truly I'm entitled to feel this way, but I don't have to be around other people if they say they don't want to understand what I understand, because everybody can't handle it. So I find myself alone more now. I also find myself alone more because outside of what happened with my son, it's just black people aren't understanding how we just really aiding and abetting our demise, and I'm being made to stand out in a negative way because I'm saying no, this isn't right, and so people, I just found out, like, I text somebody and they were like, basically, I don't mess with you no more. I don't deal with you. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. I had no idea. Like, if I hadn't approached you about this, you would have never told me. And if I'd have seen you, would you have told me I just don't know. So it's like, okay, I'm just finding myself isolating more out.
I would say this. Yes, I agree. I find myself in that same situation. But Dr. Wilson did say that if you recognize the system of racism, white supremacy, and try to do something about it, you're going to be in like the 1% of the 0.1% of the 10%, or like 0.01% of statistical analysis. So it kind of comes with quote unquote loneliness. But I would say if the loneliness happens, I would say get more into your spiritual work. Because I would say solving this problem is as much logic as it is spirit. So yeah, that's what I do. And it helps.
So what version of the Pert in Haru do you have? I have the one by Dr. Ashby, but it's a little bit roundabout. Not roundabout, but it's like a Barney style baby stepped Pert in Haru.
I think I think I got mine from academia. I'll find it and post it in the WhatsApp for
Okay,
like
thank
direct
you.
translation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Now I appreciate he's giving, background and giving analysis and stuff, but I kind of just wanted
Kumawada
to read.
Ashby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Um, I'll share a channel with you from YouTube that really showed me a lot of what I call what we were doing before Christianity. I'll put it that way. And then
Mhm.
especially in the context of like Louisiana in that area.
Mhm.
Like hoodoo/voodoo nation, I'll put it that way.
Mhm. Mhm.
And like what we had to deal with over here, like outside of the continent, and then how we reacted to this land, and then still practice our tradition over here.
Yeah. Have you seen the Skeleton Key yet?
I had wait, the movie
Mhm.
with Johnny Depp,
Mm-mm.
who's in it?
Mm. I know Joy Bryant is in it, I believe. Who is that white lady? Goldie Hawn's daughter. I just know that's Goldie Hawn
Yeah,
daughter.
no, I have seen. I've seen about the Ninth Gate, but I have seen the Skeleton Key. I have seen that. Yeah, yeah, Goldie Hawn. I know you're talking about. I forget her
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, I can't think of it either. But that made me think of that movie. I did a ooh.
Have you seen Lovecraft Country, the series?
Oh man, if you don't. That stuff made me want to sell it. It made me want to sell my television.
It's you know it though, but honestly, I'll tell you, it really shows like the spiritual hold that white people have on black people though.
Oh, that now, yes. Especially when the heavyset female was going through her transmogrification,
Mm-hmm.
and they were
Yep.
like, it was empowering because she. I'm like, y'all, I don't get on Twitter. I went on Twitter just to see what people were saying, and people really felt like that was some kind of
Empowering moment.
victory. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
so sad. I was like, oh my goodness. I mean,
but
it.
mm,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
nah, go ahead. I can hold it. I can hold it.
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
Just when I hadn't heard of H.P. Lovecraft until they decided to reverse uh appropriate the book. And then when I heard of it and was hearing the names of the creatures like Neo, Necrohotep, whatever the hell, and I'm like, huh? And come when I found out it was based off his fears of black people and everything, I was like, and so what did you do different from what he did? I don't. Mm-mm.
There's
Oh, oh, okay.
there's like a shift in like industry and like thinking like after the discovery of the pyramids. Like in the early, is either late 1700s, early 1800s, and then you'll see like there's this shift in thinking. Um, Somebody was saying how it's weird, like Egypt is the only place on the planet where there's like a whole study behind it, which is known as Egyptology. Like that's very strange. Like of all the places, like why? Um, but I think it's a lot more important than white people want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's fundamental to me. I'm sure you'd agree with that. I think too, the more they study, the more they're going out of their way to say that Kemet wasn't the origin of civilization too. I've been seeing that like, oh, civilization began in Samaria and la la la. And I'll never be jealous of Samaria, because even if it was for got my own, but um yeah, it is it is really the only place that has its own area of study, yeah, anthropology, archaeology, and everything. The place that's been stolen from the most. There was some word I looked up with little girl about a month ago for the gilding, like gilded objects and stuff. And the definition, I can't think of the word, but the definition was talking about like golden objects and ornate things from ancient Greece. And so I showed her, I said, you want to see what the word really came from? And I showed her some Kemetic artifacts. I said, they did it first and they did it better. So it's always this, they got to override reality of that civilization as well. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, you know what? Going back to Lovecraft, I want to hear why you was asking if I seen it because I did see it, unfortunately.
Because it has a lot to do with like let's say if you Google like Louisiana hoodoo, they're gonna show you a bunch of faces of white people. and they're gonna say that it's like charm magic. Like, think about the whole show. The whole show was like white magic versus black magic, like in that show. But then they had certain things that really happened in history, but it's like a mockery. We even look at the people who were played in that movie. Who played in that movie? Jonathan, what's his name? Who's right now up on what? Almost beating down his wife girlfriend charges. What happened in that? What happened in that TV series? The same thing.
Man, now that you mention it, golly. Mm,
Jonathan Majors. Yes, ma'am.
that's something else.
And think
Wow.
about how the go back and watch it again and look how the white people were using their magic, so-called magic in that show. And then look at the state of voodoo in Louisiana right now.
Mm, okay. Okay. I will. I will. I'll go
Like
straight to those
literally,
parts.
like you can go to part in Louisiana and you see who's in these voodoo shops and it'll be white women. Like, what? You
Oh, you
don't
ain't
know the old see? And I don't even live
man.
down there.
You know
How would I
what?
know that? Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I remember, I don't know how familiar you are with the different areas. So they had this school, creative arts school, that's in the Bywater Warehouse District or whatever. And I
Of what
would
city? Of what
New
city?
Orleans.
Okay, New Orleans. Okay, okay.
So I would take the bus and walk down a little bit into this area that was known to be predominated by white folks, gay white folks mainly. But this white woman would draw what they call the viviers or whatever. I'm saying the word wrong. The Haitian voodoo symbols. You know what I'm talking about? The word.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, tell me the word if you know it.
Um. Damn, I've been having on a T-shirt. It's the I want to say it's the Bavray, but it's not the Bavray. It's the Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you
Go
know
ahead
what I'm
and say
talking
it.
about.
Yes, ma'am.
Y-
I do.
Yeah, so she took her time, white lady, and she put all her little stuff out in the colored chalk. And because I didn't understand what it was, and I had an experience with voodoo as a child that I didn't understand, wasn't fearful, but I was a child and it didn't get explained. So I would cross the street because I didn't want to walk on that. I didn't know what that was. And I asked someone, I was like, "What is that on the ground?" They was like, "Oh, that's that white lady. She was on the news. She put a spell down on the ground to stop the crime in the neighborhood." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't impressed or whatever from that, but I remember her being white." And I was like, "Huh." But check this out. They still got the people, the real ones down there, but they use them for dumb stuff. Because I remember one time they had this family, I don't know their last name. I ended up meeting one of the priestess's daughters or whatever, and she was explaining some stuff to us. Um, they would call them to like do uh, ceremonies and rituals for the damn saints, so the saints would win. But this white lady is doing voodoo to stop her section of New Orleans and Bywater from being crime ridden.
She's out there just grifting. they the highest spiritual system that white people can get to is some of them can talk to their other criminal relatives. That's as far as they go. Like they cannot. It's said that they cannot align with justice, and like that's what makes the Yurugu. So like you can't you can't find balance with nature because like you can't like energetically harmonize with it. So you don't like even if you had a concept of it, like it would still like repel you away from it because you are discordant. So like they're repelled from it. So then they lash out and they have to practice racism and then like use like technology like just to stay living.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And it just makes sense about just all the spiritualities that they come across and how it turns into something totally destructive. You know, the Jehovah's Witness thing and Christianity, voodoo, Satanism. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The one person that was the most honest was a white person that practiced Satanism. I used to be on these message boards in the early 2000s, and his name was Dr. Satanical, the guy's screen name. And I asked him, like, are you calling yourself that or are you Satanist? And he's like, yeah, I'm a Satanist. And I said, well, what is Satanism? And he said, really, it's worshiping yourself. And so I said, okay, we'll just talk about it a little more. And he did. And he was like, if I feel like going outside, punching somebody in the face, I can do that. But he also said something about understanding that things come back around, which I found interesting because, you know, you would think they wouldn't believe in that per se, but maybe that was his version of it. But again, he was still honest to say, hey, if I want to go out and terrorize somebody, I have that liberty. And because it's what I want. It's the most important thing.
I think that's very telling. I think that's part of what Freud talked about when he says they have a death drive. How it's like, yeah, it's like the bomber wants his bomb to blow up to get caught, like subconsciously. But in the meantime, he wants to get away. So um, they almost want to get caught, like doing stuff. Like I've looked at, like certain things that, oh, blah blah is exposed, like, oh, this is happening. Like, okay, how does this support the system? Um, I think a lot of like people say like whistleblowers and all that. I think a lot of that is just gloating. So like you can tell people what you're doing while you do it and still have fun doing it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, gloating for sure. Like my friend says this all the time. Who gonna check me, boo? Like that's how they feel. Who's going to check them? So I want to run something past you real quick. Um, I had an idea that I have not, I haven't fully promoted it yet, but I made this artistic statement for this project that I'm thinking about promoting in the area. And so I would be doing that by giving away and or selling things that say you're not niggas, but it doesn't say NIGGAS. It says NI asterisk asterisk AS. Did I misspell that the first time I did? Anyhow, so like I had some buttons made, some, and I know I strayed away, but since you here, I think I get your opinion. It would be good feedback. Yeah, so this is my artist statement for project. You're not niggas. And mind you, I was trying to be a little more, not be so, I had to soften it up, I think, for some people who don't follow the code, in other words. So some reflections of that. Okay. So the artist statement is, what is a nigger? When is the first time you heard that word? How did it make you feel? History and origin shows us that or anyone or thing deemed to be a nigga is deserving and destined to be unloved, cursed, made poor, tortured, killed by other non-white people, but especially those who crafted and benefit the most from the concept and use of it. You are being dared to come into knowledge and understand you're not niggas. How does a person come into knowledge? One way is by old-fashioned reading. Books are microverses replete of principles and morals that have been shunned by modernity, convenience, and societal standards of cruelty and crudeness. Since reading more about Kemet, the laws of Ma'at in West Africa prior to the Ma'afa, and also seeing images in these books of unbothered life among Africa's indigenous then and somewhat now, more feelings of esteem and ownership came over me. I said the comma because I know I'm kind of running on, excuse me. All right. I know this insight was planned. I know this insight was planned for people like me to see and understand. Even though it took thousands of years to make it to my eyes, I found it, it found me. I am more than happy to alert my kindred of this inner glow and share this ambition to resurrect our consciousness from the daily brain trashing we endure from systematic mistreatment and propaganda. Way number 2, and more impactful, is spending time listening to older family members. Please listen to learn, not merely placate. The generations of the Great Migration, World Wars One and Two, Reconstruction are just about all gone. I was blessed, fortunate, honored, and well thought of by the universe to be in the care of my grandmother for all my life until 2014. She, quote, learned me so much that remembrance of her lessons are done as I live and breathe. The humble times she had wearing the same dress to school for months, milking cows in the morning and laboring in cotton fields as a child. And then her later triumphs finishing business school and rearing daughters after an awful divorce is also instilled the knowledge that anything is possible because the possibility begins in the mind. Therefore, it was much simpler for me to stand tall. Therefore, it was much simpler for me to stand tall. I gotta fix that. Okay, don't mind that last sentence. Okay, you're not niggers. Not now, not ever. Even on your worst day, you're not niggers. Ankh Uja Saneb. I know I gotta fix it, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way. Let me be quiet because I asked you what you think.
I think that's very constructive. Um, However you feel you need to work on it, you know, I say do it, but I think that's a I think it's simple, it's to the point, but um, the idea of that is one of the things that keeps the system going is the idea of black people always being niggas. Um, and then um, we can see it in the usage of the refinement of concepts like the hard R versus, like that's just ridiculous. So I think that is a very valiant effort to destroy the concept of the nigga in the black mind. So I would say, please continue on that effort. And it was very well thought out, and professional as well.
Okay, great. Because I put it on my website, my professional website. These people practice racism so damn hard, Mr. Yao. Boy, I wanted to throw one of my cats at them. I swear, I would have. Ooh, God, I wanted that cat to scratch somebody because I applied for this grant. First of all, the white people practice racism in omitting and that the second O in moo. These mofos said that they had grants of $5,000 or it was a grant up to $5,000. Listen, a grant up to $5,000. Okay. So I'm like, cool. That's that is definitely going to be constructive. I have a plan for that. I had been working on it for however long, put it together, professional, complete, thorough. I submitted. I go to the art council meeting to see who's there. Room full of white people. You know what I'm saying? Either business owners or, retirees or wherever from. You can just tell they they don't even live in this area, some of the people. But they're at the art council meeting. These white supremacists come out, and I say white supremacists because the woman speaking during the majority of the meeting was a former judge. So in my book, that's a white supremacist. You've helped not only maintain but refine. There's two levels of mastery, right? So she gets up there and say, "Yeah, so we got this, grant. It's only $5,000. The grant itself is only $5,000 that they got to divvy up among selectees." So, in other words, the email was misrepresenting the truth. We have one pot of five. They should just came out and say we got one lot of $5,000 to split up. Come shoot your shot. And it was partly my fault for not asking for the terms of the grant, right? Not just what they're looking for. Well, no, I can't say it's my fault. They put out in the email what they expected. There was information in the packet. I read it thoroughly. I followed the directions. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't expect to get the whole 5,000. I didn't expect to get half. I thought perhaps I was like, okay, that'd be compensatory if you consider, you give me 500, because then at least I'd be like, hopefully a few more people was able to get, in as they say, equitable way, closer to their goal too. 5,000 is still a lot of money depending on who applied. Come to find out, these people gave money to the library, who gets grants already from the Department of Education, the Department of Labor, the Department of whatever, Human Rights. Okay. And then to a garden club, and then a theater. These people then got business to business. I mean, I can't believe
With
it.
those people with those people that got the money to be classified as white.
Bruh, they look like, I'm telling you, they look like mayonnaise on white bread. Yeah. They are so white. So I straight up, make a long story short, I said, what did you use to qualify these people? You know what I'm saying? I have other stuff going on, but if I really want to dig into it, I could. But I'm like, you know what? Of course you didn't give me no grant. You don't want nothing going around here telling black people they not niggas, because I did ask for that. But I was testing the waters too. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what I can get, if they'll actually be compensatory. No, they're dedicated. They're still dedicated. They don't want us to have access to the pyramids to see our stuff, and then they don't want us to see simple signs that say you're not niggas either. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was thinking about. Something you said earlier, with the bones. Have you noticed so many what is called countries or districts in Africa, race camps, that are asking for their skulls and their bones of their dead ancestors back from places like the Dutch in particular, Belgium, and England, especially since COVID happened.
Okay, let me make sure I'm understanding. Are they talking about ancient remains or are they talking about even like recent history?
They're talking about skulls from their dead kings from like the 1800s that Britain took when they put them under
Yeah,
under
yeah, yeah.
colonialism. They're talking about like yeah, like yo, like we know you have this person's head. We know you have these heads and you have these bones. We want our stuff back. Even on that level, before you get to the pieces of what is called artwork. Just the
Man,
bones back.
man.
Not the any of the Benin bronzes yet. We're just talking about the
Right.
bone.
I mean, and rightfully so. I say all respect, you know, to that because if you don't have your bones, you know what I'm saying, as we talk about all the stuff we've been talking about, you know, that that's definitely supposed to be in El Cabalan because that's the stuff. Let's say they weren't kings or whatever. The bones of your people are they are truly supposed to cycle back into the circle of justice, of life, and go back into that soil and enrich it for your generations, right? So just in that aspect, but then on top of that, the energy that was transferred in the theft, right? So now we want transference. Nah, you take your shit back. You take back your racism because that's a step in self-respect. So that's why I say set up to that too, because now it sounds like someone is more wants justice way more than they are willing to hold on to a fear of saying, you know what, you robbed me. I know it's not no secret either. So how about you rectify it? The only thing they would have to back that is some, honestly, we all know, some firepower or something, but it's not going to go there. But it's still stepping in the right direction. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, and then you have the Sudan. So right back to the
Man, come on, man. Come
I
on,
was here
man.
I was hearing the number I was hearing the numbers on that. Oh my goodness. It's oh
Mm.
oh they're so skillful how they do things. Like especially on the
Oh
continent.
my God.
So like how it looks like it's black people fighting black people, but it's really not.
Listen, a whole world war going on. Might as well say the
Right
the
now
amount
in
of
the
death.
Sudan. Yep.
Man,
And few people are reporting on it.
there was a group that reminds me. I wonder how well that group is doing. There was this one rock group that was headed by a victim of racism called the Smirk, and they did a little rock song about it. It's pretty good too, but it just made me think of that, and I think I just don't know what to think. Um, Hell, I'm a
Yep.
victim. I'm a victim. I know I get caught up, and that's how it works too, right? We so
Mhm.
we got survival units going on, right? We don't have families going on. And if you don't have a survival unit, you really are experiencing what Dr. King talked about rugged individualism. This is some rugged stuff. And so you get caught in that. There's no way in the world most people have an opportunity to think about the continent And that type of suffering, that's a different type of suffering altogether, even with the racism that occurs in the United States. That's way, you know. Haiti, man. That's another place. Like we talked about that
Oh,
even.
Haiti. Oh my. Just how they were showing these vast wastelands on that Samsara movie. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and how I saw Miss Ash was like, oh, that looks like Accra. And I was like, oh yeah, like it does. Like how they I was reading this article and it reminded me of that movie. That's how I knew that they're just rubbing it in. There was this article I read about how they had like this huge fashion week, you know. I think it was in Paris. And they said that all the leftover clothes just got dumped in Ghana.
I
So like those people not even those people, like our people you see in those clothes pits over there, like
mm-hmm.
that's your Walmart and your
Mm-hmm.
Target, um, some of the Goodwill stuff that doesn't sell, all that stuff just gets dumped over there. It gets dumped like in the South Pacific, like the
Mm-hmm.
southern parts of the Philippines, like Indochina, yeah,
Yeah.
India, yep.
But here's the thing, Mr. Yao, you studied art, I studied art. So what's the slickest way of getting your propaganda to people that can't afford it?
Through religion.
You just give it to them,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
exactly, yeah,
you
exactly,
just
yeah,
give
yes
it to
ma'am,
them,
yes
like
ma'am,
here,
yeah. Here, take this.
slick bastards. You know what I'm saying? Like
The Bible's always free.
the Bible and
And
this, like huh?
but it's also the most stolen book as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, but check it out. Going back to the clothes, right? Okay. You dump the stuff off over here. We don't have nothing else better to do. We smart. We figure out how to bootleg your stuff. And then they get a problem. How you like that? You
Yeah.
know? But I mean, like going back to it being Africa, I think like seriously for me, I really found out how victimized I was from that movie, and it goes to what Dr. Amos was talking about. Like you said, a black child in a classroom with a white child, they learning two different things. And when y'all said that they
Hmm.
were rubbing it in our faces, that was the first time I ever looked at that movie like that. Like I know people was like it's trash. It is trash. I'm gonna agree with that completely. It's trash because it's not being done in a way to just document this is where we were and we aren't anymore. It's not in memorial. It's yeah, nanny boo boo. Did you see the Versailles in the beginning though? You know what I'm saying? Like they
I
smack
missed
you
I
with
missed
some.
the
Go ahead.
I missed the first part. I missed the first part. Also at the plantation. I missed the first part. Like I came in like
It's
right
worth
after when I
watching.
made my yeah.
It's
I
worth
watched it.
watching beginning to end because, like I said, it's very interesting. These people, I say, okay, so I deem the word I use for people that do a lot of exploration of the surface, I call them terranauts, right? So these are the
Okay.
terranauts, and they walking around exploring Earth. They in helicopters flying over the palm, flying over melting glaciers, lava walking in the beginning. I mean, they up on some. It was either what is it?
For white people.
Yeah, the white people. They was up
Yeah.
on some. I don't know where it was. I gotta look at the credits, but the volcano, whatever it was either a shed volcano or one of them. What is it? Calderones or the ones that's just
Calderas.
yeah. It was one of them, but that pot was bubbling. I said, "Oh, okay. Y'all live dangerously. I see. I understand. Like they to doing the James Cameron on the surface. James Cameron going in the
Oh,
ocean.
you
Mm-hmm.
know he has that. So he has the only he. You know, James Cameron has the deepest diving submersible on the planet,
Yeah.
and he's not a Navy diver, but you said he was in the military. Did you say that or
He works
no?
with them. He works for them.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That movie, The Abyss, was shot in a nuclear reactor
Mm.
to do those deep scenes. Yeah, and
Wow.
he used like I want to say 1 million or something, like these black balls that he
Mm-hmm.
put on top of like this big plastic black tarp, so it was no light in the top of like a nuclear reactor, like that big circle, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where all the cameras were to make it look like it was like a full like ocean show that was like black.
Okay.
And then
Oh
after that
wow.
movie, he was able to get the contract to build that submersible and take all those all that footage from the Marita Trench.
Man.
So yeah, he's definitely plugged.
Man. I was like, okay, this is more low key because it's on the surface. You know what I'm saying? And it's done in this cinematic, emotional way. Because you was talking about music, right? Music is always played for a purpose. So to make it more, oh, it's so what do you call it? So humanitarian or so humanist, should I say? Because it's soft music at times and stuff. But there was nosing around these white people, like especially considering the little bit I understand photography for the shots they got in the beginning that's worth seeing. You know, they called them hyperlapses, right? Y'all had to be out there like 12 hours to get this. And the way it's being blended, it's like it's only been a minute, you know. But that and then also just the eye they have, it's a it's it's interesting to see their perspective on things because it's definitely from they depending on what they're trying to deliver, that omniscient perspective is going to be what they use. You know what I'm saying? And when I was going to the creative school for creative writing, white people refer to that omniscient um perspective as a godlike perspective, you know,
Remember in the
which
movie?
could be true, which could be not true. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I think it's definitely true. Remember in the movie, what did he say? He said, if one does what God does enough times, he'll become God. I thought that was so fascinating. Like I agree with yeah. I think that they portray themselves as God. You know, I can build or destroy, I can do what I want to do, and nobody can punish me.
There's a book I told Gus about. It happened in Boston. We had to read that. And the suspected racist gets to the point. He says, okay, well, I got it. I know how to fix this. I'm going to kill God, become God, and do all this right. And it's like, okay, all right, here we go. And then it goes back to what we were saying about the games, right? Simulations. Some people want it from fictional characters. Some people want it from the real deal. They want it from real people. I really believe this book is like one of those Pulitzer type anarchist cookbooks in a way. You understand? Because it's a very simple thing he describes, but what he's describing is still something that these people ain't slick. They not slick. Oh my
He's
God.
describing the blueprint of how they did it, and then he's glorifying it and then he's showing the natural nature of the homoeroticism. Um, Even in Manhunter, what did he get mad about? He got mad about because the reporter was saying that he was gay. Like, even think about that. Like, that's a running thing within these serial killers too. You know, uh, uh, the guy from New
Wow.
York. What is his name? Joseph G. Christopher.
Yeah.
What did he get mad about in the military? He said that the black guys called him gay.
Yep.
The
Yep.
same thing Francis Dollarhide said, and that's why he set that. He bit his mouth off. Did you see that? How the
Mhm.
police had the cast of his mouth, and they're looking for somebody with all these teeth, and he just got some fake teeth made.
Mhm.
All the resources that either the police have, what the chief say? He's like, I want a helicopter on the roof in 3 minutes, and I want a jet sitting at this station, and we're going to this place, and I want it to happen now. They were able to fax live people's faces on a plane in 1986
Mhm.
just by
Mhm.
your driver's license, who has a van and who doesn't.
Oh yeah. Tracking.
And and then you look at the main actor. Who's the head of CSI on all of the TV shows? The same actor.
Yeah.
Forensic investigation, hunting down these bad people.
Mhm. Man, you
Then
making
you
me
have
go
Michael
there.
Mann. Then you have Michael Mann to end it all, to shoot it perfectly. I noticed a
Mhm.
lot of those shots were shot as a child, mid, almost like knee height, somewhere almost at the floor of like a dead person,
Mhm.
like these
Mhm.
morbid shots. If you look at Dollar Hyde in the van, he's he's met this chick that he's still, because I noticed something that I hadn't noticed before. They show the scene with the bed and he's looking up after he takes her hand, I think, and covers his mouth or something. And you look on the wall and he has a little bitty picture of her. So that lets you know that he had been watching her the whole time. So when he puts on those glasses and goes into the dark room, like he has a purpose going into there. The whole spiel about like the 80 millimeter film and shooting in infrared and all that, like all that was made to get into that room.
Hold on though. I really do believe you can't convince me. I can't be convinced away from thinking this now. To be gay then was to exclusively, undoubtedly, be a boy lover. I really do believe that. Because the shame, why the shame? If you're gay, you're gay, right? Isn't that what they say? They say it now at least. Oh, that's fine. Go ahead. Be you. Okay, but what's the difference between now and then? Only thing I can think is the that line of pedophilia. You know what I'm saying? And they were gay. That's the other thing about it. Oh my, you know, forbid the truth come out about me or whatever. I'm a mute.
I was just gonna say, the Cows broadcast, according to Dr. Christina Brown, I think her name is, and I asked her, I was like, well, what did she say? These not pedo killers, some words, psychosexual killers, something like that. And I was like, well, is there any evidence showing that it comes from abuse from their mothers? I'm like, who's producing, these sexual killers? And she's like, well, blah blah. She said, but my research did say that 75% of them did. I was like, oh, okay, I'll take that. So, um, like even the movie Psycho. Think about it. Black and white thriller. One of the greatest. What was that about? It's about a boy who was, sexually molested by his mother that turned him into a killer, and then the whole necromancy and necrophilia after that. So that's in black and white. So you know um, we're looking at what is valued, what is seen as classic, what is seen as nostalgia, and um, yeah, just what people kill for fun.
I was looking into it a little bit, but speaking of Lovecraft, Hitchcock, I guess a couple people think he was a student of Aleister Crowley, you know. So necromancy in particular being something I know that particular suspected racist, white supremacists, I would say actually. These people, they not slick, man. Um, this mind manipulation through so-called spiritualism, again going back to Kemet, mimicry and
Hmm.
decarnation of the sacred, but I'm glad you mentioned that because I read a book by a guy that was molested by a couple women and he talked about developing multiple personalities. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's not because he was on Oprah show. So who knows with
Oh,
Oprah?
well, but that's the usual MO I've noticed about these killers, though. Like,
Mm.
okay, I would call a multiple personality disorder. It's funny. My brother sent me something earlier today. We know that we can't talk about religion around either one of us because of the turn to argument, and we know this. But he sent me some today, and it's this victim has a reaction channel, but I guess that he's like I don't know, it's like kind of like trap music, like talking about God for the intro or whatever. And he's doing a reaction to this white dude who recorded a video talking about um how he made a pact with the devil, and then how he started believing in Jesus, and it's all this tomfoolery. But what was interesting is that the things that he was describing was sounding like these same patterns you'll hear with these school shooters or these white serial killers. So I just found like the pattern of that is very continuous. Like the shame, um, and then somebody calls them gay or something, or either they're quote unquote bullying, or either they've been bullied, and then all of a sudden it's like a bunch of bodies. But it's usually the same story though, and the same like almost formula that creates this. But there's no like study on it, and no one's trying to solve the problem.
Oh, hmm. No, but no, nobody, no, no, no. There's nobody serious about it. It's kind of off-putting at times as well, which is why I feel like I'm turning into a curmudgeon because it's like, okay, all right, this is really happening. We really about to bite this bullet. Okay. I was trying to tell some people, I think it was earlier or yesterday, I can't remember. I was like, there's an asteroid coming, and then these people have revealed in slight ways they want to try to catch this thing, So what are we gonna do? Like, we have choices to make. We have things we have to decide right now. And they was like, oh, I don't care about all that because, well, one person like, I don't care about all that because, uh, they do a lot to hype us up. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I'm saying to you, more than this space rock coming toward us. Imagine the stuff you know about who you know it about. All of a sudden, I don't want to use the word combusting, but literally escalating to degrees you didn't consider. What do you think is going to be the outcome? Like, so I guess what I was really like trying to say, hey, like, we are not prepared for anything. Maybe that's what I should have said, but I don't know. Maybe I wasn't trying to be insulting, but that's what I was trying to get at, you know? And then again, going back to Kemet, they named the mother flood pucker Apep, Apophis, which represents chaos. Okay, so you telling me something. Either way, how is that something comical? How is that? I literally, I'm giving people reference so they know where this is coming from, how they can investigate it for themselves. And I'm saying, hey, there's detriment to your human life if you don't prepare for this, if we don't prepare for this somehow, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's I'm not sure if the article was true or not. I have to do some more research into it. But there's an article saying that the WHO wants to implement that you have to have children artificially at a certain time.
God, that's so, no, man, look, I started laughing. I started laughing so hard just now when you started saying they want people to have children. You said Arta. I said, oh my God, bruh. There is a movie everybody gotta see. It's too late now. It's too late now. But they laid it out. I promise they laid it out. Supernova. Supernova with Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett and
I
some
saw
white
that
guy.
movie.
Bruh,
James Spader.
come on.
And they went into a ship together and had a new mixed baby.
Come through.
Yep,
Oh
I saw that
man.
movie. I saw the horrifics. Oh, yep. Yeah, yep.
Look, and
They
remember the
know.
other the other tragic arrangement? Oh, we got permission to have a baby. Oh, great. I can't wait. We're traveling through space and doing wild shit. You know what I'm saying? And we about to have a baby. I'm like, okay. But you had to get permission. Oh, okay. Here it is.
There's a good one. I'm not a good one. I shouldn't even say that. There's a horrific one. It might still be on Netflix. I think that's where I saw it at. It's called Stowaway,
Mm.
and it's got this victim on the cover and like this round window in his face. But that's a good one to watch. A good one to decode.
You
I
know
thought it
what
was
I
going to be
thought?
one. Go ahead.
Mm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There was a movie I saw about this white couple stuck in the ocean. It was supposed to be like this real brilliant movie because it was filmed in the ocean, just the two of them or whatever. I was like, okay, that's still kind of risky, but just reminded me of that for a second, being in something you're not supposed to be in the first place, trying to survive in general. You know? But go ahead.
Oh no, that was it.
I hope I didn't. You still there?
Hmm. You know what? I did notice something with that case though down in Florida with that poor woman and her children and that white woman that shot us at the door.
Uh-huh.
Um, there was a lot of